What do we need to know? A message for the collective, the path ahead. Before beginning this reading, I grounded myself in prayer, stillness, and intention, asking not only what we need to know, but what path is quietly unfolding beneath our feet this week. This reading is called The Path Ahead, a spread focused on clarity, discernment, alignment, and the direction our energy is naturally moving toward. The energy opening this week is the Seven of Wands, a card of courage, inner strength, discipline, and continuing forward even when the motivation fluctuates. What stood out to me immediately is that this card doesn't necessarily represent someone failing, it represents someone continuing despite exhaustion, someone choosing responsibility, growth, and forward movement even when they don't feel emotionally perfect. Lately, I've been deeply focused on practical priorities: motherhood, maintaining the home, appointments, enrolling my daughter into her new school, and continuing to build structure into my life. In the middle of all of this, I realized I've neglected parts of my physical well being, specifically movement and exercise. The Seven of Wands felt like a reminder that discipline is not punishment. Sometimes discipline simply looks like choosing yourself in small ways consistently, even if progress feels slow. I've still been honoring rest when needed, but I also recognize where certain habits are draining me. This week feels like an invitation to return balance back into the body through walks, movement, sunlight, and creating space for restoration instead of only survival. The next card, the Sun of Cups, brought in a completely different energy. I apologize for the background noise if you catch that on the mic. The next card, the Sun of Cups, brought in a completely different energy: creativity, introspection, emotional intelligence, and artistic channeling. This card immediately confirms something I've already been sensing internally. I'm being invited to reconnect with creativity in a more intentional way. Recently, I received another nudge to channel music again, and at the same time, I've been balancing learning web development while simultaneously building my dispatch platform. There's also been movement surrounding a potential carrier prospect, which feels exciting and affirming considering how new this journey still is. What's interesting is that none of these things feel separate anymore. The creative process, the technical learning, the music, the writing, the platform building, they all feel connected by one underlying thread: expression through creation. The Sen of Cups feels like permission to trust where inspiration naturally wants to move. If I feel called to write music, I will. If I feel called to map out user experience ideas for my project, I'll do that too. Not everything meaningful arrives through force. Some things unfold through listening. For the section called The Fog, the card that appeared was the Father of Cups. This card revealed something very human: fear surrounding growth. I realized I've been nervous that my work may actually begin progressing more visibly, nervous that new opportunities may appear, nervous whether I'll succeed, meet expectations, or truly sustain what I'm building. And yet, the message here was incredibly grounding. The reading reminded me not to obsess over fear, outcomes, or imagine future pressure. Instead, I'm being asked to focus on the actions themselves, focus on the work, focus on the next right step instead of emotionally projecting too far ahead. Sometimes clarity returns when we stop trying to predict the entire future and simply continue building. The card guiding me forward this week is one of my favorites: the sun. This energy felt immediate and deeply physical. The message was simple: go outside, feel the sunlight, stand in gratitude, allow yourself to consciously experience moments instead of rushing through them. The sun reminds me that vitality is spiritual too. Not every breakthrough arrives through struggle. Some healing enters quietly through warmth, laughter, movement, fresh air, creativity, and remembering that life is still happening around us while we pursue our goals. There was also a deep feeling of trust here, a reminder that the universe has supported me through every phase of my life so far. Why wouldn't I continue believing that that support exists now? Closing out the spread was a Hierophant, which felt incredibly powerful for this stage of my life. This card represents mentorship, knowledge, spiritual structure, wisdom, and mastery through dedication. What I heard clearly from this card is I'm becoming more knowledgeable in both my craft and myself. Not overnight, not instantly, but steadily. The Hierophant confirms that every hour spent learning, practicing, reflecting, creating, studying, and rebuilding matters more than I sometimes realize while I'm in the middle of it. The oracle message that closed this reading was European Beach. Add to your store of knowledge by reading books and listening to the wisdom of others. Let it feed my soul. That message felt like confirmation that learning itself is sacred right now. not learning from pressure, not learning from fear, but learning because growth is becoming part of who I am. Not every path announces itself loudly. Some arrive as quiet knowing, subtle redirection, or the sudden realization that you no longer belong where you once settled. Trust what continues to bring you back to yourself.